top, digging in the sea with the gangster lean. Y'all know we got to get this song. Come on, bring it forth like our people. Diamond. Diamond in the back. Time rules down. With the gangster.
Do you like the sex? Do you like the rain? Well, go ahead and pick up my single about sex in the rain. Go head over to YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, all musical outlets. Pick up that single, and I want you to add it to your playlist and tell your friend about it too. So y'all all can be doing what? Having sex in the rain. Take a listen. Tell me what you think about it.
No matter how hard you try, I can't.
Whether it be soda, Kool-Aid, or wine, get your drinks all the way together, cause we getting ready to talk about it. This is your boy Walt B, and I want you to click that like button, comment, and subscribe, because we're here with another message from the mess, and we're pushing the culture forward one issue at a time.
While we make love in the middle, forget about the strain and all about.
All of that, and my mic was muted. So I'm gonna have to say that again. This is your boy Walt B, and we're here with another episode of Walt B Unfiltered. I want to encourage you to share this video. We are having the conversation about dating and being saved, dating and being spiritual. And I know a lot of you have a problem with the term Christian. I, for one, am not. I don't like to all the time be identified as a Christian, not because I'm ashamed of the Lord, but because Christians nowadays be doing weird stuff. They do weird things. Don't forget to click the like button when you come into the room. But aside from that, you know, we do follow the teachings of Christ. So we just want to encourage you. Those of you that are dating, we want to have a conversation. Conversation is real simple. Dating while Christian, is purity possible? I know in my life, I've experienced purity culture, and purity culture wasn't always what it is cracked up to be. When you start talking about the reality of things, and you start talking about dating, and you start talking about actually experiencing life, purity culture does not always prepare you for the reality that life brings. And so we just kind of want to have that conversation today. Nothing too heavy, by the way. Happy 4th to all of you who do celebrate, and for those of you that don't ruin it for people that do celebrate the 4th of July. Although I will say, in my neighborhood, they're already getting on my nerves with them illegal firecrackers, whatever they call fireworks. Them illegal fireworks is getting on my nerves already. I'm like, can y'all? The sun ain't been down 5 minutes and already. I'm like, oh my god. And I'm sitting here like, y'all ain't that damn patriotic. Y'all don't care about that country, this country that much. Y'all just want to do something that's against the rules. But anyway, I digress. So today we're going to be kind of talking about what the church teaches versus what reality feels like, especially when it comes to like dating and purity culture. You know, the church kind of teaches you wait until you're married for sex. And a lot of times what church teaches doesn't always line up with your reality. Now, what this is not a step-by-step permission guide for you to be able to slap it and flip it and do it whatever you want. But what I found out about adults is y'all gonna do what you want to do anyway. So this is just a conversation to kind of just help you unpack some of the things. We want to talk about guilt culture and why, if sex is so bad and we talk about it so much, so first off, since sex is so bad, why do we talk about it so much? And since sex is so bad and we talk about it so much, how can we expect people not to do it? I mean, literally, we act like that's the only sin people struggle with, is sex. Sex got to be number one. We act like that's the only thing people really want to do when they're not in church. And so we kind of want to talk about these different things. And then, you got to kind of learn. We want to talk about managing connection. Managing your connection, because sometimes the reason why sex is so hard to avoid is because you have developed a real connection with this person and you're in love with this person, but you don't necessarily want to marry them right now. That's not the best decision. And we just want to talk about these different things, especially tonight. So as we get into the things, I definitely want to invite you to get your drink all the way together, whether it be soda, Kool-Aid, or wine, while we have this discussion. Okay. So I do have a question for the night. The question for tonight is it ever okay to date your best friend's ex? Is it ever okay to date your best friend's ex? Let's say they got together, it did not work, they actually dated. Now, I'm not talking about they talked on the phone twice and it just didn't work out. We're not talking about that. We're talking about they've actually dated, they were in a relationship. Is it ever okay for you, now that they have broken up, your best friend has moved on, let's say they have moved on, and then all of a sudden you all find that there's a chemistry there, is it ever okay to date your best friend's ex? That's the question of the night. What say you? Is it ever okay to date your best friend's ex? For me, it's a no, it's never okay to date my best friend's ex. If you dated my best friend, then it's probably it's a no-go for us. It's a no-go for you and I. You and I will never be. We could be friends. We can absolutely be friends, but the relationship portion is not going to happen. And I think that also includes sneaky links. No, we're not going to be over here sneaking and linking behind my best friend's back either. That's kind of ridiculous, right? But I hear somebody here that don't care them.
I can't hear nobody.
I don't hear nobody when I say we don't care about, ain't no sneaky links. We're not sneaking behind our best friend's back either.
I can't hear nobody.
Y'all not giving me no amens. That's all right. I came with an amen back down in my own Holy Ghost sanctified spirit. Okay. So when we start talking about dating and you start talking to someone, a few episodes ago, we've already discussed what dating is, because like sometimes people be confused about what dating actually is. So like you'll be like, we just talking, and then the other person be like, no, we're dating, and that's confusion. So once you all are on the same page that you all are dating, you're dating, okay? But this is the conversation you've got to be relentless about having, especially if you are serious about having a relationship. You've got to have that conversation when you're ready to cross that threshold from talking to now we are dating. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself, you're going to always find yourself in a state of confusion, or they're going to always have that scapegoat of, well, I thought we were just talking. I didn't know we were dating. And, people love to pull those kind of things out when they're gaslighting you. So you have to be very careful, and you got to be willing to have those conversations with people. And then you got to set those boundaries. This is what it's going to be. If you are one of those people that's like, I'm waiting until I get married to have sex, then you got to make that clear up front that this is what it is. This is my goal. The goal of this relationship is marriage. I'm not, we're not here just collecting data. The minute I know that this is not going to be a thing, this is not going to work, I'm out. I'm packing my shit and sorry, y'all. I'm packing my stuff and I'm getting out. You feel me? Like, and now this is you have to communicate this thing, but then you also have to be willing to be 10 toes down on it. Because once a person knows that you're saying something and you really don't mean it, like, you really might as well not be saying anything at all. Because, see, let me tell you what some of you do. You set firm boundaries, but you don't really be firm. You don't be 10 toes down on it. And they know you're not 10 toes down on it. So they don't even believe it when it comes out of your mouth. So they be like, okay. And so, and this is how you end up being played. So sometimes you have to have the conversation with yourself. Is this a boundary I'm really willing to live by? Is this a hill I'm really willing to die on? And then, if that's what it is, you got to 10 toes down on it, and you got to stand firm on it. Like, but then you have to be real with yourself. So, like, let's say the boundary is no sex until marriage. You got to be real with yourself. Just because you're spiritual does not mean physical attraction is going to disappear. Okay. Last week we talked about just because you read the Bible doesn't mean depression is going to disappear. Well, I want you to understand, just because you pray in tongues, just because y'all praying together, just because y'all listen to worship music together, just because y'all ain't out all hours of the night, because, they used to tell that lie. You shouldn't be out all hours of the night. Ain't nothing open at 2 a.m. but legs and liquor stores. And they would have these conversations and stuff. Okay, cool. But, legs can be open at noon in the middle of the day too. I won't tell y'all how I know. I heard that from somebody because, see, I'm not married. I'm virgin. I'm still virgin. Don't ask me what about my kid. Don't ask me I thought you had a kid. You don't ask me that. Okay? God covered all my stuff in the blood, and he told me all my sins and stuff is covered. And he said he's still working on y'all. I'm the one that has been dipped under the blood. I just thought I'd clear that. That's a boundary I thought I would clear up. That's a myth. Y'all hear them damn things? Sound like that was in my yard, child. I almost hit the deck. Can y'all hear them damn things? Child, I almost hit the floor. Get low. Anyway, I wonder, can y'all hear that? Oh. Anyway. That's God telling me to quit all that damn lying. Anyway, just because you are spiritual, just because you all have a united spiritual front, does not mean physical attraction is going to leave. So you guys going to have to kind of talk about what are you guys going to do when it gets hot and heavy. Personally, this is my personal belief. Okay? This is not a biblical teaching. I am not speaking for any institute. I am not speaking for any other individual other than Walter. I have not experienced abstinence making anybody a better person. It does allow you to think clearly. Abstinence, when you are not sexually involved with a person, you can think clearly, and you do see a lot more of their BS. However, every time I see someone and they're practicing abstinence, most of the time they're mean, most of the time they're evil, and you can tell they just need someone to get in there and just knock a few of them cobwebs off, and then they'll be straight. They'll be like, they're a really good person, but just something is missing, and it's the D. It's the D. That is not what this show is about. I'm going to get back on topic, because we're talking about being, hell, I said what I said, and I meant it. All right, next. But if this is a strong boundary for you, if having sex before marriage is a strong boundary for you, you're gonna have to set that. But then you're gonna have to deal in reality. I remember I was at a youth panel. They no longer, as you could tell why, they no longer allow me to talk at youth panels anymore. But I was at a youth panel and I heard some of the most dangerous teaching. The teaching was, the young lady raised her hand and she says, What do you do when you're out on a date and you start feeling these feelings toward the person you're with, and you're ready to cross the line, and you know they're ready to cross the line? What do? Most dangerous advice ever. Young minister grabs the mic. He said, you plead the blood. You plead the blood, and you ask God to take that thought out of your mind. And you watch God take that thought out of your mind. And I said, either he's a virgin, or he's real young in the faith, or he's gay. Because where I'm from, I want to be very clear. Where I'm from, you can absolutely have that thought in your mind, and you can blood of Jesus, and you can pray. But I'm from the experience. This is the lived experience. You can pray, and if you don't put some action behind that prayer, if you guys don't put some distance there, if you guys don't have a conversation about this is what it is, a realistic conversation about this is what it is, y'all gonna be praying and screwing. You're gonna be praying and having sex. Yes. And if okay, y'all know Uncle Walter is we want to creep out at moments like this, but I'm just gonna say this, and I promise I won't go too far. If you don't really put action behind holding up your boundaries, you'll be praying about the sex. You'll be, instead of Lord, don't let it happen, you'll be praying about how good you want it to be. And then you'll start thanking God, because it's amazing. And you'll start giving God glory, because you'll start proclaiming that this was the plan all along. And you'll convince yourself that is where God wants you, if you don't put some action behind the godly plans that you had in your life. I want you all to hear me. I hope you're hearing me beyond this. The difference the one thing I wish the church would teach, instead of purity and instead of waiting until you get married, I wish they would teach autonomy, and I wish they would teach you the value of your body, versus always thinking. And I see your comment. I'm going to get to that in a minute, because I absolutely agree with it. I see a lot of times that when we start talking about being spiritual, and we start talking about having these experiences, and you want these firm boundaries, if you don't put some action behind these firm boundaries and communicate them and make sure both people are on board, you're going to find yourself single for a long time, and you're setting yourself up for torture. Mayroy Music says, but God gave us sex. Absolutely, it is a gift that I do love. He created us sexual beings, so hunching can't be helped. Hold on, I didn't read that last. Absolutely. Hunching cannot be avoided. It cannot be avoided.
I can't hear nobody. And they say that
in some respects, you've got to realize that when it comes, some things can't be avoided. And again, I said I speak for me. I'm not speaking for any other entity, any other person. I'm speaking for myself. If that's a boundary that you have. So one thing I am in my own personal dating life is I respect my body. I don't want it to be told that, I don't want to walk into a room and there's 15 people that I done slept with before, and it's 12 different people that I done been, there have been times in my life where I have been more friendly with my body than I probably should have been. At 42, though, I don't want that to be the case. I don't want to walk into a room and it's 3 people in there that I don't have sex with last month. If I did, I do pay my own. If I did, though, I do pay my own bills, and I'm grown. However, I've learned to respect my body, so I'm I'm very cautious about who I lay down with, who I engage with, and I make sure that there is, again, some type of real connection there, so that I'm not just giving myself away, um, like some, Halloween candy. And I found, because see, I have real accountability partners in my life. I don't do church accountability partners. Church about accountability partners are not going to take into account your personality, your actual conviction, how much of this you actually believe. But I have real accountability partners, and my real accountability partner will look me. Some of y'all see her on here. Her name is Angie, and she be on here. She know me, so she knows if I decided to go out and do some grown up activity, she knows what I would feel bad about and what I would not feel bad about, right? We hold each other to our realistic standards as to avoid putting unrealistic expectation on a person, because some of us are putting unrealistic expectation on our friends, on our loved ones. I said a while ago, do I want to open this can of worms? She said, I mean, hold on. So, just the other week, and I'm going to tell on myself, just the other week, I was flirting with someone I did not have no business flirting with. Now, they were flirting back. But I didn't have no business flirting with this person. And I remember she looked at me and she said, Walt, don't do it. Don't do it. And so, accountability. Now, because it wasn't she know I'm gonna flirt. Now, if I was flirting with somebody and it wasn't gonna be toxic or unhealthy or harmful, she would have been like, ooh, you messed. Why you got to be so nasty? It would have been even one of those like, childhood. But if it's gonna cross the line of who you really are, the boundary of who you really are, then of course I'm here to pull you back. I'm here to say, no, that's not what we're doing. This is not who we are. Absolutely, she will. She absolutely will. Not that she my mama. She ain't out here policing my whole, whatever. And I'm not policing her, right? But afterwards, if we once we engage in certain, and you see someone treading in dangerous territory, you have to have that uncomfortable conversation with them. And again, this is why I wish the church would teach autonomy versus purity, and versus just wait till you get married. Because what just wait till you get married creates is, well, I'm just getting married so I can have permission to have sex. And so you're not looking at this as a whole individual. You're really looking at this person as some genitals that you can finally sit on or run up in. And you have to be very, very careful with that, because when it comes to relationship and it comes to connection, that's why I said earlier, sometimes it's hard to manage purity when it's hard to put up that whole purity front when you have a genuine connection with this person, and the genuine connection with this person is getting ready to cross some physical lines. JJ. Oh, is that my JJ? Inbox me. Is that my little inbox me, JJ, if that's my little nephew. By the way, I'm real with all my nieces and nephews, so no, this won't be the first time they hear me having some kind of conversation like this. If that's him, I don't think that's him, but if that's him, inbox me, boy. I ain't talk to you in a minute. Emotional openness and honesty is critical as it pertains to grown folks' sex. Now, I do need a good oil change session every now and then. Oh, Jennifer! Oh, okay. Oh, Jennifer grown like me. Absolutely. Okay. Let me get back here. I do need a good oil change every now and then. It keeps my blood warm. And your prayer life strong. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what I want us to get from this is we've got to lean more towards autonomy so that we're not just looking for, so we're not just looking for a genital to marry and spend the rest of our life with. You're looking for a whole person. You know, when you enter into this relationship, when you have clarity on what you're searching for, and you don't think just because you had sex with this person, this is who you are deemed to stay with for the rest of your life. And you're clear on the fact that, and you're clear on the fact that God is not upset with you if you made, absolutely, autonomy. You have complete control over yourself. You say what's okay and what you say when you give your body and when you withhold your body. When you have autonomy and you practice autonomy, you're starting to realize this is something that I get to give up, and I get to say when I engage sexually with a person. And I realize God is not upset with me if I thought this was an okay situation. I engage with this person. I find out this is not going to work out for life. Or, like Roy said, sometimes you just need someone to check under the hood and make sure things are still functioning. You just need someone to you know, make sure all of the wheels are still wheeling and all of the tires are still doing what tires are supposed to do. Sometimes. Ooh, I'm gonna get it over that one. I'm gonna get it over there. I could hear them scriptures brewing in your mind right now. Oh my God, Pastor! I didn't know you was here. I might would have said that one a little more. I might would have said that one a little more euphemistically if I knew Pastor Busby was here. No disrespect, sir. I respect what everybody believes. I do. Love you too, sir. I love and respect Pastor Busby. He has never, ever, throughout my whole transition, he has never been hateful, disrespectful, or dismissive to me or my thought process. And I appreciate that about you, Pastor Busby. There is an emotional connection that could play into that. Absolutely. So when we start talking about your autonomy and you engaging with someone and you realizing that God is not going to hate you if you make a mistake, you're not, you're not this little thing that he throws to the side now all of a sudden, and he's now on to the next person who can hold their virginity for 50 years. And you realize, that you're not the sum of your body counts. And this is for men and women. I want to be very clear. This is for men and women, because a lot of times you will pressure the young women to be pure and to be wholesome and to be virgin. But, we don't always apply that pressure to the men, and I just want everybody to know, men and women, God ain't mad at you if you made a mistake and, you got what you needed last night or the week before. Okay. I like, so now we're getting into conversation. You said mistake. I don't think sex is a mistake. There is a misuse, but it's not a mistake. I actually like that. So we're getting into conversation. I think we're getting somewhere here, especially as it relates to purity culture. Sure, I can get with that. Maybe there is a misuse. But I think sometimes we use this purity. Sometimes we use that the word virtue. We misuse the word virtue as a way to kind of browbeat and punish people who may have done something that is not something we deem acceptable, not something we deem um, as acceptable, holy, and or righteous. And I don't feel like this is a good thing. I think that we have these unrealistic expectations on preachers. Here recently, Brian Carn was caught kissing some girl, or some girl was kissing on him, and then she released this whole think piece about how they've been together, and he was telling her he loved her, and they, I guess, done had them a little sex or whatever, and she felt used and abused. Now, the only problem I have with Brian Carn is you run around here and you act like, everybody else that have sex is busting hell wide open. Whereas if you was just real about it, like, hey, let's do our best to keep our pants up and our zippers zipped up, instead of, challenging people to grow in their personality and grow in their character, and grow in areas that are needed. You kind of browbeat the people, sending everybody and their uncle to hell. But now all of a sudden, now that you're caught in it, now you want there to be some grace. It shouldn't have been a big deal. He's a single grown man who had a lady friend, and him and his lady friend was getting it in. Let's just call a thing a thing. They were getting it in. If the word is still on point, if you still got a prayer life, misuse or mistake don't cancel your call. It don't cancel the call of God that's on your line. It don't cancel out the anointing. I think we run into those areas when we just start being out here being frivolous and unethical with our sex life, which may be something I need to address in a future episode. But when you're out here just being frivolous and harmful and unethical with your sex life, I think that's when we start running into areas where the anointing may be tampered with, or your effectiveness may start dwindling. But not just because you're sitting up here and you got you a little committed something, and everybody ain't all in your business. That's my thought on that. The Christian view of sex and dating is okay. In that it limits the embracing the whole person. Absolutely. Y'all not gonna get me on here with my hooked on phonics. If I can only be myself when I'm having sex, then I'm not my complete self. Absolutely. And Angie said that's real. Absolutely. So I think sometimes we're holding people hostage because we won't allow them, like Mayroy Music said, we're not allowing people to be their full self. And then you're causing people to suppress. There is a difference between denying self and suppressing who you are. Denying yourself means I am not indulging or overindulging in this thing for the glory of God. Suppression means I'm acting like this thing absolutely does not exist, and I'm going to push it down and put something else on top of it and just act. This is what a lot of straight acting homosexuals do in church. And I don't care how many women you date and how much you talk. It's this one ex-gay in the church. I pray for him. He pisses a lot of homosexuals off, but I pray for him, because the day when he meets whatever he's aiming for, it's gonna be really, really harmful to himself. But I don't care how many sermons you pack on top of it. I don't care how many marriages and kids you pack on top of it. You still got that little flame under all of this, and eventually, if you don't deal with it, it's going to start airing and showing itself in an unhealthy manner. I'm just saying. Um, and I want to be very clear. I believe if I didn't come out, I would have been if if I didn't start living in my truth, I would have been an example of that. Um, Angel Nisi says, just be true to yourself. Absolutely. I say be true to yourself. Of course, true to God. True to God. And I just want to say this, and I say it freely. The reason why I say this next part freely is because there's so many people that disagree and they have so much to say negative about this, what I'm about to say, that it causes a lot of people in the LGBTQ community to even shy away from God or feel like they can't have a relationship with God. But you can absolutely be homosexual and have a real and deep and authentic relationship with God. Facts are, you're not going to be able to exist freely in the black church. You're just not going to be able to. Okay? But this is where you're going to have to learn how to separate God from the church. And you may have to separate for a season. But I'm a living witness that God will open the door for you to have fellowship on some level when you're ready. When you're ready. Just don't walk away from God. You may have to walk away from the church, though. And that was for my LGBTQ people out there. Don't worry. I won't start. I promise you. May Roy music. I won't get knee deep off in that. Do you think the church will ever adjust its views on sex? I believe there is a pivot starting. I think there is a pivot that is starting, because if we don't address this and start having real conversations about sex and about autonomy and about commitment and about same gender loving people, absolutely, there's a pivot. If we don't start having these realistic conversations, things are just going to continue to get worse. And right now, the church is hemorrhaging young people. They're leaving. They're going to other streams of consciousness because what is being propagated and what's being taught is not real. It's not real. For years, I was told cold shower. I was told, he will keep you in perfect peace. Whose mind is stayed on you, and he whose mind is stayed on me. And let me be real with you. When your body wants what your body wants, again, you can start out praying. But if you don't have a real conversation and you don't walk in reality and you don't address things, you'll be praying and having sex. And then you'll be praying about the sex. And then you'll be praying to have more sex. Because you're not addressing the root of the issue. And you're not having first off, you're not having a real encounter with God. You're not having a real conversation with God, and then you're not allowing it to penetrate your heart in a real way. I knew I was tripping when my public prayers started matching my private prayers. In that, now I don't mean in that I was now praying in public, going forth like crazy. I mean, I started praying like a hypocrite in private. There's some things you can't go forth in public about. But I started praying in private like God didn't know I was, dropping it low and spreading it wide. I started praying in private like God didn't know that I was homosexual. Did I say that out loud? I'm going to just leave that alone. I started praying in private like God didn't know the whole truth, because I had become so accustomed to praying in public and just greasing over brushing over. But then I started having the actual conversation with myself and facing things. And then earlier we talked about honor. I started honoring my body and realized that I'm not the sum of my body count. I'm not the sum of this, that, and the fifth, the mistakes that I've made, And then I realized that even though I may have made mistakes or been misused in the past, that doesn't take anything away from the call or the connection that I have with God. Absolutely. Hopefully I ain't putting these up at the wrong time. And she like, hold on, I agree with what you said 3 minutes ago, not what you're saying now. Once I started having those conversations with myself, I was able to have open conversations with God, and I was able to be in a part. I was able to actually walk with God in a way that I never had. And this is coming from someone. I used to pastor a church. And not I want to be clear. Even though the building was small, I had members. I got pictures. I can put pictures up now of me preaching to rooms full of people. Not at other people's church too. I'm talking about at my church. And I'm now able to connect with God in a way, and I'm able to be more effective now in a way because I'm now having genuine, authentic conversations, with God, and then I'm also honest with myself. And because I've accepted my humanity, someone else's humanity does not throw me off, and it doesn't offend me. I can meet you where you are. I can love you where you are, and then we can grow together. Let me see what y'all saying here. My pastor, when I was 15 in Tulsa, told me, just say, I will not, do not. It did not work. Wait, let me read that again. He says, my pastor told me when I was 15 in Tulsa, just say, I will not. It didn't work. I said that won't work being gay. Absolutely. I was coached into praying the gay. I thought I had prayed the gay away. Lord, how we end up here, but we're going to have this conversation. I thought I had successfully prayed the gay away. I did. And in my years that I thought I prayed the gay away, I would challenge other gay people and be like, you ain't praying hard enough, baby. If you want to lay it down, you can lay it down. And I wasn't talking about laying pipe or nothing like that. I was really talking about laying the sin down. And I was talking about laying the homosexuality down. And then I found out the hard way. Life taught me the hard way. It didn't go anywhere, but I had suppressed it. And if I didn't deal with it, it was going to start showing up in unhealthy ways. One unhealthy way, and I'm going to say this, and every time I say this publicly, someone jumps in my inbox and they're upset with me. But you have preachers that literally travel the nation and preach, and they have boyfriends and girlfriends in other states. Okay? You'll never get me to name a name because that's just not what I'm into. What I am saying is, if you can't never travel with your husband, he does not allow you to travel with him when he preaches, or her, because we like to jump down the gay men's throat, but there's some gay women in the sanctuary on tonight. If you can't never travel with them, you better watch out. Because there is something going on that they don't want you to see. Okay? I would see these men, and they wanted me to become a part of it. You got a boyfriend over here who I go to Tennessee and preach all the time, and I got this man, he meets me, and it just, I never wanted to be involved in any of that. If I got to sneak and do all of that, let me be single, let me be divorced, let me get out this marriage, and then I can go out here to Tennessee and lay me a little something down. I'm not saying God is pleased with it, but I wouldn't be hurting home to get out here and get whatever. You feel me? And we just, if you don't address these things and you just keep suppressing and pushing it down, it's going to show up in a very unhealthy way. Have the hard conversation with yourself. Have the hard conversation with people. You never know. You might sit down and tell your wife, I like men's too. And she might be like, I like women's. And then y'all both just be like, okay, so what we're going to do is once a month, we're going to bring in a This Is Not That Show. This is not that show. And y'all not going to pull me into that area. Satan, it is the Lord that rebuke you. Let me get back over here. Let me get back over here with these comment sections. All right. Angie says, gay people are no different than anybody else. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. We all have something we struggle with on different levels. Absolutely. I agree. Okay. Yes. He said yes. Yes, in every state. Absolutely. And I feel like I feel like you may, Sister Teresa, you may understand what I'm saying on a different level because we were raised in church like the kind of same way. Always in church, always singing, always on some level doing something for church, right? So a lot of times we've seen things behind the scenes where others only see what's happening on the stage. We've been privy to like the backstory of what's going on, and a lot of times, you know, that it does make for good conversation. But we're talking about people living healthy lives. It's not always a healthy life. So how does being gay, being saved, and sex work? That's why I say we are sexual beings, or bodies. Our bodies respond naturally to certain things. There's no gay sex. There's just sex. I'm gonna have to get you. So you're gonna have to actually come on next time I invite you, Mayroy Music, because we're gonna have to break that down. That's a conversation I would love to have with you. This one is a conversation I definitely would like to have with you, sir. They set me down in ministry because I am bisexual. Child, let me explain something to you, Angel. Let me explain something to you. I got kicked out of a ministry. This church wanted me to, so they were like, we're okay if you're gonna be gay and not tell anybody. We're okay if nobody knows and you're kind of like straight presenting, you know, because honestly, in most cases, I've heard, I'm not 100% sure because I think you can tell by looking and talking to me that I'm gay, but a lot of people tell me they can't tell, and I don't know if they think that makes me feel good, but they say they can't tell by looking at me that that I'm definitely a Rainbow Coalition member. I couldn't say that because that's Jesse, what's his name's. But anyway, yeah, they can't tell that I'm a member of the Rainbow Children. And so, absolutely. I got kicked out of a church. It used to hurt my feelings. It doesn't anymore. Because I would no longer lie about it. I would no longer. At first I was showing up to the church and I was saying, God, I want deliverance. Once I found out that I couldn't get delivered, that this was indeed a part of my humanity. This is a part of who I am. We here, you know, it's not going nowhere. Then it was, and I'm just going to cut through all of the BS. Maybe I'll do a show and talk about all the details. I ended up being kicked out of the church. I got kicked out of two churches for round about the same reason. One eventually came back, doubled back, and wanted me to come into fellowship, but the main corporate wouldn't be honest about what happened, and so I would not engage them on that level anymore. And to God be the glory to them, for them or wherever they at. And if you're watching, it's. I told myself I wasn't gonna cuss on tonight's show, but it's still F you. What was that? Absolutely. Teresa says she enjoys too much. And so my point, Angela, let me get back to my point. They set you down because you're bisexual. I got kicked out because of being gay. I still have to continue on my spiritual journey. If you have not found fellowship yet, I just want you to continue to be yourself, but I don't want you to disconnect from God. Find somewhere where you can worship God and you can connect with God and continue to grow spiritually. I do encourage you to be practice sexual ethics. Don't harm people and don't dishonor yourself. And if you end up with a woman, honor her, honor the relationship, and I believe God will be pleased. And if you end up with a guy, do the same. That's the only advice I'll be able to give you there. Here we go. I've seen people treated differently before. People knew that. The same anointing and power. But now people know, so it's different. Absolutely. Absolutely. Child, I done seen it while I was in the middle of a song. I done seen people going in the middle of a song. I done seen somebody whisper something in their ear, and then they act like the anointing got up and walked right on out the room. I've seen it with my own eyes. But if your discernment and your ability to worship God is predicated on someone's sexuality, then I don't know, because let me tell you something about half the gospel music industry. I'm not going to be messy. Anyway. Let's see. No, honestly, I couldn't tell. You couldn't tell that? Teresa couldn't. So honestly, I thought you knew the first time you saw me, Teresa. She like, no, but now it's clear. It is very clear. We see it. We see it clearly. Where was he? Where was I at? Oh, you know, it's crazy because people always see you as your sin. I was sat down before for having my children early. We have to be ourselves. Absolutely. Absolutely. And your children are beautiful. She has a beautiful family, for those of you that don't know. And they're gifts from God. I remember early on, my older sister had her children. She had her children young, and they almost made her get up in front of the church and apologize. I'm gonna have to wrap up here real quick. They almost made her get up in front of the church and apologize. And I was so happy that her father, my sister's father, stepped in and pretty much was like, if she has to get up in front of this church and apologize, I'm gonna beat your ass. That's pretty much what he told. That's pretty much what he told the pastor, and that was the end of that whole conversation. There was no more, because her father, you know, he loved God, but he not the one to be messed with, and so that was the end of that whole conversation. They didn't even bring that up anymore. But yeah, no, children are a blessing from the Lord. And then the thing I don't like about it is you'll have her get up and you'll have her do all of this apologizing, but where is he? How come he don't have to get up and apologize? How come he don't have to sit down? How come he's not embarrassed, you know, etc., etc.? And I'm not saying do it to them both. I'm saying the sin was already done technically. They never have to have sex again in life, but the baby's still going to be here. And so what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Mayroy Music says, I'm not going back to church for a while. Roy, I'm going to be honest with you. Mayroy, I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest with you. I was there. I ended up back in church, and it pricks my spirit when I say it. But I ended up back there on accident. I ended up back in church helping one of my nephews out. My nephew inboxed me and said, I need you on. I said, okay, let me dust it on off and get on in here. And I went to the church. If the pastor that I serve under, if his heart was not the way it is, I wouldn't be there. Because that's what initially attracted me to the church. My pastor's heart. We had a whole conversation, and for those of you that don't know, to some people 42 ain't old. Y'all be like, oh, you ain't old, but I still think 42 is too old to be sitting up here playing little whole games. Excuse my language. I know some of y'all ain't gonna under, but those of y'all 50 and under understand what I'm saying. I'm too old to be playing some whole games. So I went to the pastor and I told him, I said, I said, absolutely. Our pastor is absolute blessing. I went to him and I told him, I told him, I said, now this is who I am, blah, blah, blah. I will always respect the house of the Lord. So you don't have to worry about this, that, and the fifth, and blah, 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 blah. He didn't care about none of that. His main concern was, how was I doing spiritually? Am I open to grow spiritually? Absolutely. I'm absolutely open to grow spiritually, but I was also of the mindset, I don't want y'all laying hands on me every time the spirit get high. I don't need somebody walking over with a bottle of oil, laying hands on me, praying that this is the Sunday we finally get that gay on up out of there. No, y'all keep all of that. Some of you, that's why when you invite me to sing at your church, and I'll be like, no, baby, I'm busy that day. Keep me in your prayer. That's why I'm not coming, because I don't have time for y'all to be sitting up here laying hands on me, praying that this is the day we get the gay away. I don't have the time for that. And then I don't like to be overanalyzed. I don't get up and minister with agendas. I'm not up here to minister. So when I'm singing about God loves me, I'm not up here trying to send a message to everybody that he loves me even though I'm gay. I'm up here singing the song because I love God and he loves me. No hidden agenda. And so I don't like to be overanalyzed. If I feel that that's going to happen, I'm not coming. If I feel like I'm being invited as the sideshow, I'm not coming. And thankful to God, I'm now at a place in my professional career where I used to have to take those gigs to make the ends meet, but I don't have to take them kind of gigs no more. God has been really good to me. For those of you that don't know, I am an audio engineer. You know, I can get in the studio. So for those of you that want to record, you can hire me, and I'm a really good audio engineer. You can ask Angie B, because I engineered some of her song, ILOVEYOU. Go check it out on Spotify. Yeah, but no. If you need to record, I'm an audio engineer. I have these different. I do graphics. You know, I have these other side hustles, so music is no longer, you know, the main crux of what I do. So if I feel like these things are taking place, I'm not gonna show up. No, we done got way off the thing here. I always knew you were gay, brother. Shut up, Angel. No. She's known me for years, so she can absolutely say that. I don't think being gay is a sin. I don't either, but that's another show. Absolutely. I want to 10 toes say that I do have young gays that I do mentor, and first thing I let them know is this is a part of your human experience. This is not about heaven or hell. This is not about, you know, this is not about God hating you. This is not punishment. This is not a sentence to be a failure, because you know sometimes that's how they feel in some religious circles, and so I absolutely let people know that, you know, God does sanction you. He sanctions your love, and he sanctions your humanity. You just have to yield to him and be willing to grow with him. All right, I done said all that I could say, as Sylvester said, and I can't tell you nothing else. This is the conversation starter. If you or someone you know is struggling with any of the things that we discussed tonight, because we done kind of been all over the place tonight, I want you to share this video with them, have the conversation with them. Don't forget to click that like button, and please get over to my YouTube channel and subscribe. I have to be real with you all. My YouTube channel quit growing when I stopped doing Hot Topics, but I did not want to continue doing Hot Topics because it's not who I am as a person. So, like, yes, I do like to discuss hot topics, but I don't like to be getting, when you do it on the internet, you got to be willing to get in there, and if someone says something to you, you got to be willing to check. And I be seeing these YouTubers going back and forth. That's just not me. That's just not me. If at some point we ain't gonna meet up and fight, what's the point? Yeah, I said that out loud. I did. I said that out loud. Anywho, I hope you all are enjoying your 4th of July, and I hope you all get sleep, because my neighbors have already started popping these illegal fireworks. And there's no sense in even calling the police, because the police station is a few blocks over, and they know they're doing it, and they ain't finna come over here and stop them. Anyway, God bless you all. Love y'all. I won't be on next week because I have a gig, but I'll be on the following week, and I got a conversation. Maybe I'll be able to pull Roy up, and we can have one of these conversations that have been. We can get us some. Maybe me, you, and Gail can have us a good old conversation about the Rainbow Coalition. All right, love y'all.
I got so much joy living down in me since I've been set free. Walking in victory, trusting in the Lord confidently. And every day I'm living to Him I am giving. After all that He gave to me way back on Calvary, I feel a change coming. Oh, yes, I do. Taking over my mind, my personality, and all of the love I feel like it's all over me. If it happened to me, can happen to you. Open your heart, let me what He do. No more negativity in my life. I found peace and it feels so right. Enjoying my blessing, no longer stressing on what I'm pressing. Yeah, yeah. God gave me an opportunity to walk in victory. I'm going to another level. Thank you, Jesus, for something